You've likely seen the headlines: an internet blackout descending over a nation of millions, reports of brutal crackdowns on city streets, and a staggering death toll that no one seems to agree on. Since late December 2025, Iran has been the center of a story that is as tragic as it is difficult to report. A story of protest, repression, and a desperate search for truth in the dark. The core of the crisis isn't just the violence, but the deliberate silence enforced around it. How do we understand what's happening when the lights go out and the digital world is cut off? This is what we know so far. The timeline of this crisis is pieced together from fragmented sources, but a clear pattern of escalation emerges. It began in the final days of December 2025. What started as localized protests over economic grievances quickly morphed into a nationwide movement with broader political demands. By the first week of January 2026, demonstrations had spread to over a dozen major cities. The response from security forces was swift and severe. Initial reports described the use of tear gas and batons, but within days, the situation deteriorated. Eyewitness accounts, smuggled out before the internet was fully severed, began to speak of live ammunition being used against unarmed civilians. This marked a critical turning point, transforming protests into deadly confrontations and setting the stage for an unprecedented level of violence. To control the narrative and suppress dissent, the authorities deployed one of their most effective tools, the digital curtain. This wasn't a simple outage. It was a sophisticated, multi-layered shutdown. First came the throttling of internet speeds, making it nearly impossible to upload videos or share information. Then, popular platforms like Instagram and WhatsApp, vital lifelines for communication and organization, were blocked entirely. Finally, in regions with the most intense protests, authorities implemented near-total blackouts, cutting off mobile and broadband data. This digital siege served two purposes. Internally, it isolated protesters, hindering their ability to coordinate and share safety information. Externally, it created an information vacuum, making it incredibly difficult for journalists and human rights organizations to verify events on the ground. The world was left guessing, trying to piece together a puzzle with most of the pieces missing. Despite the blackout, whispers from the inside began to emerge. Doctors and medical staff, speaking anonymously for fear of reprisal, described a harrowing situation. They reported hospitals being overwhelmed with casualties, many with gunshot wounds. Some medics claimed security forces were present in emergency rooms, confiscating bodies and intimidating staff to prevent them from documenting the true cause of death. Local journalists, working under extreme duress, used landlines and intermittent connections to relay information to colleagues outside the country. These on-the-ground reports are crucial, but they come with a significant disclaimer. In such a chaotic and repressive environment, verifying each claim independently is a monumental challenge. Rumors can spread as fast as facts. Our role is to corroborate these accounts using multiple sources, cross-referencing them with satellite imagery and digital forensic analysis wherever possible, while remaining transparent about what we can and cannot confirm. While journalists struggled to get information out, international human rights groups worked to get information in. Organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch activated their networks of researchers and digital investigators. Their methodology is painstaking. They collect, preserve, and verify user-generated videos and photographs, looking for clues about time, location, and the types of weapons used. They analyze satellite imagery to identify unusual activity, such as roadblocks or evidence of mass graves. And they conduct detailed interviews with victims' families and eyewitnesses who have managed to flee the country. Through this forensic work, they have documented dozens of specific incidents of what they call unlawful killings. Their reports allege a clear pattern of security forces, including the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, using lethal force against protesters who pose no imminent threat. However, even these expert groups acknowledge their findings are likely just the tip of the iceberg, limited by the very blackout they are trying to penetrate. This brings us to the most contentious and heartbreaking question: how many people have been killed? The numbers are wildly divergent, and each figure is laden with political weight. The Iranian government has released official figures that are in the low hundreds, attributing most deaths to rioters and foreign-backed agents. At the other end of the spectrum, some opposition groups and activists outside the country have put the number at over 10,000. In the middle, human rights organizations and investigative news outlets have cautiously confirmed casualties in the low thousands, while stressing that the true number is almost certainly higher. Why the massive gap? It comes down to methodology and access. Official figures often exclude killings by security forces. Activist counts may sometimes include unverified reports. And journalistic and human rights estimates are based only on what can be rigorously documented, a fraction of the whole. The grim reality is that we may never know the exact number. Each estimate represents a different attempt to quantify a tragedy that was intentionally hidden from view. The reports of mass killings, though fragmented, have triggered a wave of international condemnation. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights called for an immediate, independent, and impartial investigation into the alleged violations. The European Union and several Western nations, including the United States and the United Kingdom, issued strong statements condemning the violence and the internet shutdown. These words were followed by actions, primarily in the form of targeted sanctions. These measures are not aimed at the general population, but at specific government officials and security commanders believed to be responsible for orchestrating the crackdown. The goal is to impose a personal cost on the perpetrators and pressure the government to cease the violence. However, the effectiveness of such diplomatic pressure remains a subject of intense debate, especially when dealing with a government that has proven resilient to outside influence. Beyond sanctions and statements, there is a growing call for legal accountability. Human rights lawyers and organizations are meticulously preserving evidence for future legal proceedings. This involves archiving verified videos, collecting witness testimonies, and documenting the chain of command within the security apparatus. The aim is to build case files that could one day be used in international legal forums, such as the International Criminal Court, or under the principle of universal jurisdiction, which allows national courts to prosecute individuals for the most serious international crimes. These legal pathways are long and fraught with political and jurisdictional hurdles. Iran is not a signatory to the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, making a direct referral difficult. Yet, the process of evidence preservation is itself an act of defiance against impunity. It sends a message that even if justice is delayed, the crimes will not be forgotten. Behind the geopolitical maneuvering and the staggering statistics lies an immeasurable human cost. For every number in the disputed death toll, there is a name, a family, and a community torn apart. There are parents who will never see their children again, and children who will grow up without a parent. The psychological trauma of living through such violence and the subsequent fear and silence will leave scars on the nation for generations. Outside Iran, the diaspora watches in agony, disconnected from their loved ones and desperate for any scrap of news. They organize vigils, lobby governments, and work tirelessly to keep the world's attention focused on the plight of their compatriots. Their grief is compounded by a sense of helplessness, watching a tragedy unfold from afar. This is the true weight of the crackdown, not in the data points, but in the individual stories of loss and the collective trauma of a nation. The story of what happened in Iran in late 2025 and early 2026 is still being written. As journalists, our commitment is to responsible sourcing and rigorous verification, especially when information is weaponized and obscured. We must be clear about what is confirmed, what is alleged, and what remains unknown. The search for truth is a slow and difficult process, but it is essential. If shedding light on stories like this matters to you, help us continue our work. Subscribe to Timelines and like this video to help it reach a wider audience. The world must not look away. We'll keep tracking the story.